Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance. My name is Chaz Andres, and as always, let's get started with the news. The biggest story of this week? Well, how could it be anything other than the release of Core Set 2020, which hit Magic Online this week, 2 full days before the paper pre-release. As of now, there are only 3 cards in Core Set 2020 that are worth 10 tickets or more on MTGO. The new Mythic Chandra, the new Sorin, and the new Omnath. The first 2 make sense, but the new Omnath was a bit of a surprise to me. Until I started looking into this new Risen Reef combo deck that combos with the rare 3-mana Chandra in order to generate elementals that generate mana that get, a lot of things into play really fast, and then Omnath comes down maybe on turn 3 or 4, and it's very cool. Now, I don't know if this is anything more than casual nonsense, but if it actually ends up being a player in Standard, then, there's a shot this Omnath can actually maintain its current price tag. Of course, these days, MTGO is used almost exclusively for Eternal play. And, of course, the cards from Core Set 2020 that are going to be worth the most long-term are those that see the most play in Modern. To that end, I highly suggest grabbing your copies of Leyline of the Void, Grafdigger's Cage, and Steel Overseer at some point soon. Leyline of the Void is down to about 8 tickets right now, Grafdigger's Cage is under 2, Steel Overseer is a bulk card on Magic Online, so the investment in any of these cards is fairly negligible. At some point, they will be going back up in price because, they see Modern play, and I suggest grabbing them now. Not sure what other cards in this set are going to see play in Modern yet. Stay tuned, I will be covering that in depth in future weeks as we learn more and more about Core Set 2020, but for now, these 3 should absolutely be on your pickups radar. Alright, so if I did have to guess on the other cards in the set about what might actually make a splash in Modern, I'd start with Lotus Field. Lotus Field is currently only about a ticket and a half on MTGO, selling for about $15 in paper. That's the pre-order price, and it's much more likely to find a home in Modern than in Standard. So at current retail, it's one of those cards that could go up in an awful hurry. Other than that, cards like Scheming Symmetry, Elvish Reclaimer, and all of the other ley lines, these cards are all under 2 tickets right now. They all have a shot to pay off in Modern, Legacy, or Vintage, so I'd at least think about picking them up at some point over the next couple of weeks. Let's move on now to Gaining Ground, where in Standard we had dual winners this week, both rare Planeswalkers from War of the Spark. That's right, it was Karn the Great Creator and Teferi Time Raveler both gained about 2 tickets this week. Teferi went from 14 up to 16, while Karn went from 9 to just 11. Now, even though Karn and Teferi are both from War of the Spark and therefore still within the set redemption window, I still like these cards as both long and short-term buys right now. Both Karn and Teferi see quite a bit of play in the Eternal formats, and, even though the short-term price is likely to fluctuate quite a bit, which is what's been happening with a lot of Standard cards, the overall trend I feel like should still be positive. So, if you need Karn, if you need Teferi, I would at least consider buying in soon. Let's move over to Modern now, where we have a pretty massive spike, one of the biggest I've ever seen. This week it was Wrenn and Six making a massive move, gaining 33 tickets from 38 all the way up to 71. That's wild, and it wasn't the only Modern Horizons card making a serious push this week. Urza, Force of Negation, even Seasoned Pyromancer all saw major gains this week. So here's hoping you watched my video last week and took action when I said that Wrenn and Six was potentially poised for some major gains. Granted, I did not expect 33 tickets worth of gains in a single week, which is utterly ludicrous, but yeah, when a card is both really good and really scarce, things like this are possible. Modern Horizons is such a unique set that I'm not sure where things are going to go from here. We could be looking at this card next week when it is, collapsed in price and it's down near 40 tickets, but it appears to still be on the rise right now, and because of that, a 100-ticket card is not out of the question. Yeah, really, Wrenn and Six could be 100 tickets by the time we talk next week, so definitely keep a close eye on this price chart because we're really in uncharted territory here. Let's move on to our biggest loser, where in Standard it was Arclight Phoenix dropping about 7 tickets from 36 down to 29. and this negates about half of the previous week's gains. The card started at about 19 tickets before peaking at 36 and then dropping again. So yeah, it's been a bit of a wild ride for the Phoenix in the past couple of weeks. So here's the thing. I'd love to tell you what's going to happen to Arclight Phoenix over the next couple of days, but I can't do that yet because the information I need is going to be released about 11 a.m. on Monday, which is when WotC is going to publish their next banned and restricted announcement. A lot of the reason why Arclight Phoenix dropped in price this week is because people are expecting that Faithless Looting might be banned in Modern, and if that does happen, the price is going to keep tanking. If it doesn't, however, Arclight Phoenix is poised to gain pretty significant ground next week. So that announcement is going to go live more or less concurrently with this video, so all I can say is go over to WotC's page after this, see what they did with Modern. If they banned Faithless Looting, well, you should probably sell your Phoenixes pretty fast. If they didn't, you should definitely buy some more because it'll probably be next week's biggest standard gainer. Let's move back over to Modern, where the biggest loser of the week shouldn't come as much of a surprise. It is, of course, the recently reprinted Leyline of the Void, which is in Core Set 2020. It dropped about 10 tickets this week once Core Set 2020 actually released on MTGO, from 18 down to 8, and it is continuing to erode. In fact, its price chart looks a little bit like one of those cartoon stock portfolio arrows that's just sort of plunging straight down into the ground. So, of course, this makes sense. When a card is reprinted, the price tends to drop and drop hard. That said, I expect this card at some point to overcorrect and rebound. It's just too important in Modern to be below the 10 ticket mark for long. And Core Set 2020 is not likely to be opened in very high quantities on Magic Online. So at some point over the next couple of days, maybe the next couple of weeks, Leyline of the Void will hit its seasonal low and start to rebound. Pay close attention to this price chart, and once you see it start to recover, I'd buy in. Now, the sneak of the week this week is literally every card in Modern Horizons. I mean, seriously, even the ones that aren't seeing a ton of player going up. We talked about Wrenn and Six earlier, but cards like Hex Drinker and Plague Engineer and the Horizon Lands and every last little thing you can think of is pretty much rising in price at the moment. So, if there are any cards in Modern Horizons that you think you're going to want, I'd pick them up sooner rather than later, because who knows when this rally is going to end. Let's end the week by taking a look at the MTGO Trader's sales data over the past 7 days. And as always, this gives us a great idea about which cards are selling the best right now, regardless of price increases or decreases. Looking at overall sales by volume, the most interesting card to me this week is Bloodstained Mire, which was the best-selling rare of the week by far. Now, in the past, I've taken a look at these fetch lands and seen increases in demand, and it hasn't really translated into an increase in price, and that might happen again. I'm not sure I'd recommend speculating on this card. That said, Bloodstained Mire is under 7 tickets right now. It was up over the 12 ticket mark several different times last year, so I wouldn't be surprised if it starts to tick up again. If you've been holding off on getting a personal set of these Bloodstained Mires, I'd rectify that soon. Looking at overall sales by price, Wrenn and Six was the big winner of the week by far, followed by Force of Negation. And this shouldn't come as a surprise. Like I said, the theme of this week seems to be Modern Horizon prices on the move. At some point, this market is probably going to cool off and these prices will start to drop, but that hasn't happened yet. Right now, there are still several dozen Modern price charts pointing straight up, and that price increase is being buoyed by an increase in demand. So this demand is real, and these prices are, at least for the moment, fairly legitimate. And that's all I've got for you this week. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Chaz Andres, and I will see you again next week for another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.